Straightforward challenge. We are given an argument to our function, and the argument is a number, it's an integer, and we want to return the Roman numeral equivalent of that argument that's passed in, signified by num. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is have an object lookup, and this object lookup is going to tell us what is the actual value of the Roman numeral. We're also going to need a string, and this string is going to represent what we're going to return. This is this number that's translated into Roman numerals. So we're going to say we're going to use a for in loop so that we can actually iterate through this object. So we're going to say for x in lookup. Just console.log. It's console.log lookup x. I'm going to say node Roman. Okay, so this is what we're going through right over here. These are all the numbers in descending order. All right, cool. So inside of this for in loop, we need while statements. We're going to say is while this number is greater than or equal to, so while this argument that's passed in is greater than or equal to is, I'm sorry, yes, so while each number is greater than or equal to, look up at x, right, we need to do two things. Well, first what we need to do is we're going to add to this string, right, this empty string. So what are we going to add to this string? X. Right, and the x is represents these over here. So while it's greater than, we're going to add that, while it's greater than or equal to, but we don't want to do that forever. Right? We need to subtract from this number. We need to subtract from the number the value of this, right? And after this, we're just going to return, not the number, we're going to return Roman, right? Okay. So how does this work? So basically, like, we're passing in 36, right? So is 36 greater than or equal to 1000? No, it's not. Is it greater than or equal to 900? No. Is it greater than or equal to 500? No. So it's going to go so on and so forth until it gets to, it's going to pass 40, and then it's going to get to 10. So yes, 36 is greater than or equal to 10, right? So it's going to push this x into this string, and then it's going to, what's it going to do? It's going to subtract 10 from 36, right? So that's going to be 26, okay? And then it's here, it's still on this right over here, and it's still greater. 26 is still greater than 10, so it's going to do the same thing. It's going to repeat itself, right? So it's going to subtract 10 from 26 is 16. It's still greater than 10. 16 is still greater than 10. It's going to subtract another 10, right? Is 6 greater than or equal to 10? No, it's not. So this while loop is going to terminate, and then we're going to go back here, right, in the for in. So then it's going to advance to the next one down, right, it's going to advance to ix, is 6, and it's going to skip over 9, obviously, right? Because 6 isn't greater than or equal to 9, right? And then, but it is greater than or equal to 5, right? So it's going to subtract 5, and it's going to push this v, right? It's going to push that v. Okay, and then we're going to have 1 left. Right, so 1 isn't greater than or equal to 4. The while loop will terminate, will finish, and then it'll go to this last one over here, and this will get pushed in. Right, so let's see what happens. I'm sorry. Yeah, so XXXVI. That's how it's going to work. All right, one more thing that I could add over here that we could do. One last thing that we could do is, if we don't want to, like, say that the number was greater and we didn't want to actually, we wanted to stop once it got to a certain point, we could say that, we could say if our number, if it gets to 0, so then what we're going to do is we're just going to break out of this. Right? How is that going to help us, right? Well, let me prove it to you how it is going to help us, right? It's going to help us save some work. So let us use a counter. Let's say let counter equal 0, and then we're going to say counter plus plus, and then we're going to say we are going to cancel that log the counter right before we return this. So now our counter is 13, right? But let's say we didn't use this. Now we don't have the break. Let's see what happens. Same thing. Let's use another example. It's not a good one because in this case it does have to go all the way to the end to get the last one. Right, because 36 it still has to go all the way to the end to get that 1. Let's use something where it doesn't have to go all the way there. Let's do 100, because then it can just get to 100. Let's see what happens. So it's went all the way to the end. You can see, right, it pushed C and 13 because there's 13, right? So now let's do this. Now let's see. I bet it will be much less. Not much less, but you get the point. There you go. You see, counter is now 5 because it broke after it got to. It went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It equals 0, right? And then it finished. All right. So that's how we can do it and save ourselves a little work. Let's save this. Let's Control A. Let's Control C. Let's actually Control A, Control V. Run the test. It's not because we console log wants us to. X is not defined, so let's comma X. Let's try this. There we go. Very cool.